designed to hold your weight. Please do not lean or sit on those doors during our journey. We do not want you to fall out of the tram. If you fall out of the tram, that's called natural collapse. We don't want any of that kind of stuff going on today. We also ask that you remain seated when the tram is moving. You are welcome to stand up when I come to a full and complete stop, which I will do throughout the tour a few times, but once the tram starts to move forward again, that is your cue to take your seat once more. If you are sitting in the second or third car, look up above your heads. There are 2 yellow strips on the ceiling. In case of a medical emergency, you can press and hold that yellow strip to get my attention. If you're in the front car with me, made you look, no yellow strips for you. Just to go ahead and tap my back window. But again, medical emergencies only, please. Now, dropping a personal item off the side of the tram does not count as a medical emergency, so if you do happen to lose any of your items over the side, please wait till the end of the tour. Let us know when and about where it was that it fell out, and we will send someone to retrieve it for you as soon as we're able to. On a blustery day like today, it's really important to hold on to certain things like maps, sunglasses, hats that could blow off, so please be very cautious with those belongings. Our giraffes already know how to find their way. They do not need your map to help them. The world today, you guys, is full of surprises, and we'd like to share some of those surprises with you as we journey around the safari park today. Just so you are aware, the safari park is part of a not-for-profit organization called San Diego Zoo Global. When I say not-for-profit, what that means is your dollars go a tremendously long way to supporting conservation. Conservation means saving animals in many different ways, by taking care of them, by providing safe futures for them, by learning about them, and you are allowing all of that to happen just by being here today. We're very grateful. Off to your left, out in East Africa, you might have spotted some giraffes in the distance. We'll visit with them again later. We also have some small tan antelope on the left-hand side called Thompson's gazelle, and some of our African crowned cranes. They're the black and white birds with the yellow feathers on their heads. But speaking of birds, keep your eyes out on the right-hand side of the tram. We are passing our flamingo lagoon. Keep your eyes out for babies as well. Flamingos are usually a pink color when they are full grown, but babies are gray. And that's because that gray color helps them camouflage. It helps them blend in with their surroundings. A bright pink flamingo would stand out like a sore thumb, and a baby doesn't want to stand out like a sore thumb. Baby wants to stay safe. So when the babies are born, they start out as this fluffy little gray blob, but they get tall and they get pink pretty quickly. Now, here at the safari park, we are famous for our big field exhibits, meaning these large habitats with lots of different animals living together. So it doesn't seem fair that those flamingos just have that tiny little corner, does it? Well, here's the surprise. Turns out that flamingos appreciate living in an apartment complex. They don't really like living in the suburbs where they're really far away from their neighbors. They like to be within touching distance of all of the members of their flock. It helps them feel safer. And we actually learned this by having them in a really big area for a long time, and they never had any chicks when they lived really far away from each other. But as soon as we put them in that smaller corner, they're like, yep, this is safe. And they started making more of themselves. In fact, the summer after they moved into their smaller corner, they ended up hatching 30 chicks total. It was incredible. And we're really glad that we learned that about them. That's what conservation is all about. But here's another surprise. I want you guys to keep your eyes out on the right-hand side of the tram again. You will see our beautiful tour guide named Lisa stopping at the Rhino Rescue Center to take a look at a very special baby. I'm going to pause the tram right here for just a moment, and if you can't see him just yet, don't worry, I'll scoot up again in a moment here. Look underneath the very first shade structure here on the right-hand side. If you're at the back of the tram, you'll want to look towards the front. Don't worry, I'll stop again, I'll pull up. But we do have a mama rhino named Victoria snoozing next to her son, whose name is Edward. And Edward is only about 2 months old. He was born in July of this year. He is the most precious little bean. I'm going to scoot the tram up just a little bit more so our folks at the back of the tram might be able to get a glimpse of his little booty. He looks like a tiny rock next to a big old rock. They both have ears, though. That makes them different from rocks. Now, white rhinos are a very important conservation project for us here at the safari park. Did you guys know that rhinos are disappearing? It's true. In the wild, rhinos are not surviving very well. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that in some cultures, people can think that their horns can be used as medicine. They think that rhino's horn, given as a medicine, can help cure a headache or cancer or fevers. But you guys, that is not true. Can you do me a favor? Touch your fingernails. Touch your hair. You just touched a rhino's horn. That's what it's made of. Your hair and your fingernails are exactly the same as a rhino's horn. Are your hair and fingernails able to cure cancer? Nope. So we are very confused as to why this idea is still around. What we're trying to do, though, is spread awareness. We're trying to raise awareness for these animals and make sure that people understand that rhino horn is not medicine. And if you'd like to help us, I want you to tell everybody that you know that rhino horn is not medicine. And for those of us who are using social media, that's actually a really good way to spread the word around the world. Hashtag rhino horn is not medicine, or hashtag save the chubby unicorns. It's pretty fun. Now, on the left-hand side of the tram, really, really close to us, not even past the water, I'm talking literally feet from our vehicle, you're going to see a small family of animals not behind a fence. Do you see these kind of grayish-brown deer, one with some really neat antlers? These are called mule deer, and they are not escaped animals, I promise. These mule deer don't even belong to us. They were here first. Yeah, so when the park was opened, way back in 1972, we opened on an area where there were already animals living. And a lot of those animals have decided that the safari park is still the safest place for them. And so they have stayed and had families of their own. So we say that these mule deer are here for the free lunch program, and we certainly don't mind because we have a lot of free lunch for them to enjoy. Now, I know before you guys got on the tram, I was chatting with some of my little friends, and we learned about the difference between a deer and an antelope. Where are my little friends that learned about antelope horns and deer antlers? Okay, show me antlers. Do you remember? Make your 5 fingers up on your head. And show me horns. 1 finger on each side, right? So guys, a deer has little on its head antlers that look like tree branches, but an antelope has horns which is just 1 stick. That's kind of one of the ways that you can tell the difference between deer and antelope. Now, mostly in Africa, you have antelope, so that's what we're going to meet a lot of today. Now, horns can come in all different shapes and sizes. Sometimes they're perfectly straight. Sometimes they have little ridges on the side that look like they're textured. Sometimes the horns can spiral way up tall. They're come in all kinds of variety and they serve different purposes. But mostly horns are used to help an animal defend itself and also to argue with each other sometimes. Now keep your eyes out on the right-hand side of the tram. I'd like you to look for some birds that are some friends of mine. We have some birds at the back of this little area that are kind of mostly brown with some white speckles. They're called Ruppel's vultures. They've got a bald head, and when you hear the word vulture, does anyone kind of cringe? Like, vulture, that's scary, that's gross. And I get it, because vultures are, in a way, kind of like nature's cleanup crew. They're responsible for eating a bunch of dead material that other animals leave behind. But I know while that sounds gross, it actually ends up being very important, because if there weren't animals like vultures to clean up the leftovers, then nobody would. And all that dead stuff would pile up and pile up and pile up, and you and I would be walking around knee-deep in dead stuff. So the next time you see a vulture, say thank you, because they're helping us out and helping the ecosystem stay healthy. Vultures can be found on almost every continent in some form or another. Here in San Diego, we have a native species called the turkey vulture. They're really common around here. And then at the safari park, if you wanted to, you could walk up to an exhibit called Condor Ridge, where you can meet one of the largest vultures in the world. Their wingspan, meaning from one end of their wing to the other end of the other wing, is about the length of the bench that you're sitting on. They are massive. So if you guys want to check out Condor Ridge, it is a beautiful area. Condors are a special part of the safari park because we are breeding them here so that some of them can go back to the wild. And if you go up to Condor Ridge today, you can read all about how that's working. Looks like we're going to come across some more of our animal friends here in a moment. Before we do, though, I have to ask, raise your hand if any of you guys have been watching Animal Planet lately. I've been watching the show about the safari park and the San Diego Zoo. If you haven't, that's okay. They are showing reruns now, but it's such a neat show because it highlights all of the incredible stories of the animal care that goes on at our facility and the San Diego Zoo. I found some animals, by the way. Keep your eyes out on the left-hand side. I almost missed them, but do you see a big group of animals all snuggled together under one tree just beyond the dirt road in the grass? It's hard to see them at first because they blend in so nicely with the shadows. Those are called Elypsin waterbuck, and they are an antelope species from Africa. Not only are they blending in with the shade of that tree really nicely, I want you to look carefully and notice that they're all facing in different directions. That is super duper important because they know that in the wild, a predator can come from any side. Well, if a predator is going to come from anywhere, you better have eyes looking everywhere, right? So we call this an alert formation. Let me tell you, you guys would be really, really bad antelope. Why? Because you're all looking on the left. Humans have learned that we're not really going to usually get eaten by stuff, so we don't have to worry about it as much, but these animals, their instinct tells them we better play it safe just in case. A couple of my friends over here on the left-hand side, there's a couple of tall ladies in this smaller habitat. These are called ostriches. I bet you knew that without me even saying anything. And they're saying hi to another friend of theirs. These ostriches have been spending a little bit of time in their own private hotel room the last couple of weeks, mostly because we've been having some construction going on in this habitat. And let me tell you something, ostriches like to help. They do. And by help, I mean get in the way. So when we have construction crews out here, the ostriches take turns going into their little corral just for a little while to make sure that they are safe and make sure our construction crews are safe. But you'll see a couple more of those ostrich ladies prancing their way down the road up here on the left-hand side. Hello, ostriches. We have 5 female ostriches in here. They're each named after a spice in your pantry. So if we have 5 ladies all named for spices, what do you think we call them when we talk about all of them at once? The Spice Girls. It's true. Yay, 90s. Now also on the left-hand side, you will get to see a few more of our giraffe friends. We do have 7 giraffes in this habitat, and I want to introduce you actually specifically to our TV stars. If you have been watching the Animal Planet series about our facility, you will recognize Obi and Yoda. They are 2 famous little boys that were part of the first couple of episodes of the show. They are here on the left-hand side. Yoda is the one closer to us with the darker spots that are smaller, and Obi is a little farther away. He's got more white between his spots, and his spots are a little larger. Now, the reason that these 2 little gentlemen were on that TV show is because they had a little bit of a difficult origin story. When these boys were born, they were both very, very sick. We don't know why for sure, but they needed a little extra help, more than their moms were going to be able to do. So both of these little boys, when they were born, were taken out of the habitat, and they were taken to our vet hospital right here at the safari park, where the keepers and the vets found out what they needed and were able to bring them back to health. But now that they're growing up with other giraffes out here, they are learning how to be giraffes, and that's such a cool little thing for them to have a buddy and for them to now be part of the main giraffe herd out here. Another friend of mine here on the right-hand side of the tram, hard to miss, it's Dune. Hey buddy, what you doing? He just yawned at you guys. We have our dromedary camel laying down right here next to the tram path. All right, pop quiz, you guys ready? What's inside of a camel's hump?
Water.
You don't have to raise your hand, just shout it out.
Water!
Okay, now this time, raise your hand if you said water. Wrong. Sorry, it is, it's true. It's not water actually. That's a pretty common thought that people have. They think, oh, camels live in the desert. They must be able to carry water with them wherever they go. Not really actually. Their humps are full of fat, believe it or not. And instead of carrying water with them, they carry fat. So in case they go a long time without eating, and instead of carrying their water with them, they're just really, really good at saving the water that they do drink. In fact, their nostrils, their noses can actually suck water right out of the air around them. It's pretty amazing. It's a cool talent that helps them survive in very hot environments. So I hope that y'all learned something today.